Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk about Betsy Ross. Now, who was Betsy Ross, and what did Betsy Ross actually do? That's a great question when you think about it, because we have a tendency to think that Betsy Ross was the person who designed the first flag, who sewed it for George Washington. And of course, it just gets a little crazier than there after the whole story. Now, we know that Betsy Ross was a seamstress. And yes, she did make little flags, not American flags, but flags for ships. There were many seamstresses in Philadelphia. And of course, the story as it was told by her grandson, who wanted to advance himself in Philadelphia society, he came up with the story of his grandmother, Betsy Ross, saying that George Washington had come to her and that he asked her if she could make a flag, and that she designed the stars and came up with how the stars should look and the whole design and la la la. Well, there is not one iota of evidence that Betsy Ross ever made the first flag. In fact, there's not exactly all the evidence in the world that the building that exists today in Philadelphia was actually Betsy Ross's house. They think it was, or one of the ones nearby. Betsy Ross is buried now with her husbands in the courtyard of this house. I was there in 1976 when they kind of brought what they had of Betsy Ross there. And the guy who was the grave digger told me they couldn't find much of anything, so they just took a bunch of dirt and dumped it back over there. So there might be a touch of Betsy Ross there or somebody else. So the whole story of Betsy Ross was created shortly before the centennial celebration in Philadelphia by her grandson. As I said, once he did so, he was advanced very highly in Philadelphia society, and all of a sudden, Betsy Ross becomes one of the major players in the American Revolution. I wish it was so to say that Betsy Ross made the first flag. I wish it was so to say that George Washington came to see her and asked her to do so. Unfortunately, George Washington wasn't around at that time. And unfortunately, according to every record that exists, there was no flag made by Betsy Ross for the Continental Congress. It's a wonderful story. It's inspiring. But the sad part is, it's 90% incorrect.